Is your high protein diet actually sabotaging your weight loss? I'm going to bust some myth today that I'm seeing all over the internet, especially for women over 40. Hi, my name is Jessica Vargas, if you're new here, and I'm a functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner, as well as an insulin resistant solution practitioner. And really, all that means is that I love improving women's metabolic health through a functional, holistic, and integrative lens so that they can have more energy, less aches, pains, bloating, and have easier weight loss outcomes so that they can just live their life more intentionally with more confidence and just feel really good in their bodies. So, something that I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing all over the internet today, is all the gurus out there telling you that you need to eat 100 grams of protein. 130 grams of protein, 150 grams of protein. And there's these numbers that are kind of just all over the place of how much you need to eat. But the general message is you need to be eating more protein. And here's the issue with that: more protein is actually a really good thing, right? We think about it from a perspective of what protein does for us. It helps us build strong muscles. It also is high in a thermogenic effect, meaning compared to carbs and compared to fats, when you actually eat protein, it takes more energy for your body to break it down and absorb than the other macronutrients. But one key thing that people aren't considering, especially women, is that there still is a calories in versus calories out equation that we have to be considering. Now, before you assume that I'm a calories in, calories out, die hard nutritionist, that is not the case. We will get into the whole picture, but that is still something we have to consider. And so when you eat your regular diet and then you are told to just add in more protein, you're going to increase your calories, whatever your baseline is. If you're not tracking, if you haven't worked with a macronutrient coach, if you don't know what you're doing from an overall calories in or macronutrient um, perspective, then you are likely going to be eating in a surplus. Okay. And while eating in a surplus might not be that big of an issue, depending on where you are in your life, if you're trying to lose weight and your body is not losing weight, but you add that protein in a lot higher, you start focusing on adding in more protein, then you're going to increase your calorie baseline. If your body is at your BMR, your metabolic basal rate is at a basically a baseline, like you are in a maintenance, you're not gaining, you're not losing, and then you add in more calories, you're definitely not going to lose weight. You're likely going to gain weight. And while protein macronutrients are four calories per 1 gram of protein, right? When you think about 150 grams of protein, that's roughly 600 calories extra a day. Right. And that's not including the fat grams that are inside protein. Even the leanest cuts of protein, like a chicken breast, still has about 5 grams of fat per serving. Now, I am not a calorie fanatic. I do not have my clients track calories. We do often look at how much macronutrients we are consuming just so that we have an understanding of, are we under eating? Are we overeating any one macronutrient or any total from a total perspective? So, first and foremost, we need to think about, are we overshooting our calories by just adding in more protein? And sometimes, I would say most times, when we're trying to get in more protein, we're not necessarily upping the actual animal protein, the chicken breast, the ground turkey, the beef patty. We're not having two hamburgers, right? We're usually looking for other ways to add in more protein, usually by adding in shakes, right? Protein powders, protein bars, protein-based snacks, right? Snacks that say high protein on them. Well, again, we're not necessarily considering the added ingredients in those types of foods that are going to push calories up in a way that all of a sudden you've added a high protein diet and now you're gaining weight. The other piece to this too is quality of protein does matter. From a calorie perspective, it doesn't matter. But from an overall holistic perspective, it does matter because if you're eating a ton of conventionally raised cattle or chicken, right, you're likely getting in hormones, pesticides, antibiotics, all kinds of extra crap that your body, your liver particularly, has to filter and get rid of. And that's not taking into account what other environmental loads you're already putting onto the body, whether that's skin products, excess estrogenic products, maybe through drinking water out of plastic, heating up your food out of plastic. It could be also your body creating excess hormones, and or not excess necessarily, but your body creating its hormones, and your body not excreting them properly. That brings me to my next topic. My next point is you could be eating the most amount of protein possible. You could be eating a high protein diet. You could have potentially your calories in line or overshooting, but you might not be able to break down, digest, and excrete what your body doesn't need. Protein, as well as extra hormones, toxins, pesticides, everything that your body has to filter, whether you're breathing, drinking it, or eating it, right? So ignoring digestion, you can only use what you break down, is definitely an area where I see women going wrong. So before I move into the functional piece of weight loss, I hope this is driven home is if you've decided to add in a ton more protein, but you're gaining weight, it might be time to start to track, at least for a week or two, what you're eating, how much you're eating. Okay. And there's all kinds of macronutrient calculators on the internet. If I remember, I will drop one in the show notes below for you to find one. But it's a good idea to put in your baseline. What's your weight? What's your goal weight? Making sure that it is feasible. It's not a crash diet, right? You want to do this healthy. And then have an idea of what your calorie target should be in order to lose weight. But before you even do that, I always coach my clients to just track for a week or two of just your normal diet. Don't change anything, just see where you are, because this gives you an idea of naturally what feels intuitive, what you're already doing. So it's easy because you're already doing it. And then from there, we decide to make shifts. And this is why working with a practitioner, a coach like me, is so much easier than trying to do this on your own, because keeping track of all this and also having the knowledge of what levers to pull can be very tough if you're not trained to do it, which I am trained to do. And I do this for myself and my clients all the time. Okay, so you have the calories in, calories out situation that might be going on with you if you're noticing higher protein, but you're not losing weight or you're gaining weight. The other piece of this puzzle, which is not talked about very often on the internet because holistic, functional, doesn't go with weight loss. I find that most people avoid the topic of weight loss because it's not holistic, it's not natural. At the end of the day, if you have excess weight, unwanted weight, if you have unhealthy weight on the body, that in and of itself is going to drive disease. So we need to make sure that, yes, while we're making sure that we are living a life of high quality natural living, healthy living, that we're also not ignoring the fact that our bodies may need some support to heal. Part of healing is allowing the body to release the weight, giving it what it needs in order to release the toxin load, the weight, the inflammatory weight, right? Anything that your body is considered excess. And you know, if you feel like you have more around the belly, more around the hips, thighs, if you just don't feel comfortable in your skin, don't feel comfortable in your clothes, if you have weight that shouldn't be there. Right. So the functional way that I work with clients to lose weight is, number one, we don't focus on weight loss. We have a goal, we set the goal, we have ways to track if we're meeting that goal. But weight loss in and of itself is already a symptom. Okay. It's already a symptom, like heartburn or bloating. Weight loss is just another symptom, like this tree. Okay. These branches are all symptoms. This right here is the 20 pounds of weight that won't budge on your belly. Okay. We don't focus on this. We see it, we recognize it, we say, okay, we don't want that. We want that to be, 15, 20 pounds lighter. Where we focus our energy is in the soil, where the roots of the tree are lying, because it's the soil that's going to influence what the branches are going to look like. Okay. You're either going to be tight, flat tummy, or you're going to have a lot of extra weight on your body based on what's going on in the soil. Okay. So we pair, like I said, the calories in, calories out. It does matter with the functional piece of health. And when you do this together, you're priming the body for healing. You're accelerating healthy weight loss, but you're also going to be able to see a lot more maintainable weight loss by doing it this way versus just ignoring this whole analogy and going with crash dieting, energy pills, or whatever is on the market these days, and ignoring the intuitive healing piece that the body is. Your body is not supposed to have excess weight. It is designed to carry excess weight to protect you. There's a reason why your fat won't go anywhere, and it's likely because it's protecting you. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what that functional piece looks like before we wrap up today's video. Blood sugar balance. All right. So insulin, and I have other videos on my YouTube channel that go into explaining the hormone hierarchy. Before you think about thyroid, before you think about estrogen and progesterone, and all the things that are, again, all over the internet right now talking about why you can't lose weight, blood sugar balance, cortisol, insulin, these two main hormones that are at the base of the pyramid are why you're not able to drop weight, let's just say, even if you are eating healthy, because there's so many other things that are influencing right now. Blood sugar balance will, especially when you have spikes, are going to increase fat storage. It's going to increase fat storage. Okay. Because insulin is a fat storage hormone. And if you have excess energy in the body and then you put more energy through food in the body, it has nowhere to go but your ass and your belly and your hips. Okay, that's just science at that point. It needs to go somewhere. High blood sugar in the body is considered extremely dangerous. And so your body's job is to maintain homeostasis. So when the blood sugar becomes elevated due to whatever it is, sometimes it's food, drink, sometimes it's lifestyle. Okay. Again, this is nuance. This is why it's so damn hard to do this by yourself if you don't have a trained practitioner working alongside you and coaching you and helping you understand these concepts. Because my way of practicing is by educating my clients. I am not going to drag you to the well. There's plenty of coaches out there that will give you a 90-day plan, set it, forget it, follow it, generalized. Here you go. Don't stray from it. It will work, but at 90 days, you will fall off the cliff because we've all done those 90-day plans. My way of practicing is by giving you the tools to go down to the lake, giving you the tools to go down to the water so that you can drink the water on your own. Because let's be real, when you intuitively understand something and you're intrinsically motivated, you will stick to it and you will fall back on it when you feel like you've fallen off. So blood sugar balance is incredibly important. Gut health, inflammation, poor absorption, like we talked about with the protein, and bloating, all are signs that your body is not utilizing your nutrients properly. And beyond protein, if you're not breaking down your food properly and getting the right critical nutrients, vitamin C, iron, B12, the energy vitamin, um, the zinc, selenium, right? All the vitamins and nutrients that we need in order for our organs to operate appropriately, this is going to have a direct effect on the mitochondria, the cell, the energy factories in the body. And while it might not necessarily directly make you gain weight, if you're tired, if you have brain fog, what are the likelihoods of you wanting to go meal prep or get your workout in? Or stop scrolling on the internet and prioritize sleep at nighttime, right? Everything is connected. Inflammation is a big one. We need to make sure that we are bringing in the inflammatory load in the body down. So your body's like a bucket, and the inflammation will rise in that bucket. And when the bucket gets full, it starts to spill over. When it's spilling over, this is why, again, it feels like you're doing everything right, but nothing is working. You're not losing the weight. Likely your inflammatory load is so high for whatever reason: food sensitivity issues, digestive issues, environmental toxin load, stress, inability to sleep throughout the night and get restful sleep, not enough water. Again, individualization matters most. And you may go like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing wrong. Well, that's where I come in. I am trained to assess and pinpoint exactly where your deficiencies are, whether it's lifestyle deficiencies, nutritional deficiencies, or even nutrient status deficiencies. Okay. This also includes hormones. And then finally, hormones, right? Perimenopause shifts. This is something that I know that we're hearing a lot about: perimenopause, menopause, which is great. The conversation is there. These shifts, which are natural, right, are going to exacerbate a lot of these issues because women moving into these transitions, perimenopause, menopause, aren't moving into these transitions in a solid found and with a solid foundation. They're likely, if not 100%, I could put money on it, moving into these transitions. You're not moving into this transition with perfect health. You have insulin resistance. You likely have dysregulated cortisol due to stress. You're a mom, maybe. You are climbing the corporate ladder. You have a social life, or maybe you're trying to have a social life. You have aging parents. Maybe you have, kids that need excess or extra help, right? Um, a lot's going on in your life, right? So we're coming into this phase of our lives already with imbalances, autoimmunity, insulin resistance, cortisol dysregulation, inflammation 100%, right? And even if that wasn't the case, again, most women that hit their 40s, they've beat their bodies to shit. They've gone through yo-yo dieting, they've had babies, which is very stressful on the body, extremely, and the thyroid, okay? They've maybe dealt with traumas, right? And again, you have to look at this as a whole person, whole picture situation. Okay. And hormones will influence where fat is stored on the body. Now, a lot of women that I work with are on HRT and they start estrogen therapy or progesterone therapy and they realize or they think they're gaining weight. And it's not necessarily they're gaining weight, okay? Because estrogen itself isn't a hormone that's going to put on weight. Same thing with progesterone. It can influence where fat storage will happen. It can potentially affect insulin, leptin, these other hormones that are going to influence how you burn fuel, if you burn fuel, and your hunger and fullness levels, right? So it might make you more hungry or crave sugary, salty snacks. But hormones themselves aren't going to actually make you gain weight. Just going to influence other mechanisms that are going to make weight loss really, really hard, right? So just to kind of high level this, calories in, calories out matters. Eating too much protein for your body to digest matters. And then there's this functional piece. If your body is not in optimized state, hormones, digestion, inflammation, blood sugar balance, and you try to over protein yourself or take peptides or take supplements and ignore this piece of the puzzle because it is a puzzle and it does take some trial and error. It does take some investment of just your time and education or investment in working with a practitioner like me to piece it all together. But once you've pieced it all together, and I'm living proof, my clients are living proof, you can 40 or above lose the weight, feel good in your body, have clear skin, have muscles, have a flat tummy, but it does take these root cause approaches in order to get to where you want to be. Because, like I said, you're likely not coming into this phase of your life with perfect health. So, if you're eating healthy, not seeing results, it's not your fault per se. It's not your fault. It's not like, nothing's ever going to work, right? So we got to get out of that victim mentality. You need a personalized approach. You need to look through that root cause lens, not just more food rules, not just eat more protein, eat less carbs. Okay. This blanket advice on the internet, while there's good intention behind it, it's not serving us because why is it that we're seeing obesity rise even further with all of the information on the internet? Why is it that we're seeing cardiovascular health or diabetes and these issues still at an all-time high level and increasing when we have all of this information at our fingertips? Okay. This is what I help women through in my root cause review protocol. We understand what their body is saying, how their body is presenting their issues, getting down to the real reason why they can't lose the weight, while also improving digestion, bloating, energy, aches and pains, hair loss, skin, right? Like quality of life beyond just what it looks like in your jeans, which by the way, I know what it feels like to want to look good in your clothes. I want to look good in my clothes, so I get it. So the root cause review is a great place to start. If you're not quite ready for one-on-one support, you can download my essential lab guide below to see which labs you should be tracking at a minimum to understand your baseline of health. Are things out of whack? Are things not optimal? The one lab guide that's not, or the one marker that isn't in there likely, no, I don't think it's in there, is your serum protein. This is a lab marker that your doctor will likely run, not on purpose. It's just inside the complete metabolic panel, the CMP, that is likely in your list of labs you've ran over the years, there's a protein marker in there. It's not the best marker to show if you're getting enough protein, but that is a marker for you to pay attention to see if you are at least in functional range. And obviously, if you're in typical range or pathological range, you'll see if it's high or low. These are all things, like I say, that I work on with my clients to help them decode, understand their body better, and then get a plan that actually works, that's broken down for them, that's not overwhelming, that meets them where they're at. If you're ready for that type of support, then I invite you into reaching out to me. Message me on Instagram at BeBodyEmpowered. Send me an email using the show notes information below, or book a consultation call if you just want to see if you have some questions or see if my support is right for you. At the end of the day, I really hope that this information was enlightening to you. It gave you some food for thought, and it allowed you to think where you maybe need to spend more time understanding your body so that you can reach your goals. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See you later.